It's whatever is on the left of our navbar. So what I did was I named it Rishav's Workshop. Now, if I actually click on that Rishav's Workshop, it will actually go to a website called creativetim.com. And the way it does that is that Rishav's Workshop is actually a link. And it's a link that's called through a tag in HTML called an href tag. An href is like a reference. It's a reference that uses the HTTP protocol to go from one web page to another. So that's what's going on here when you see HTTP colon double slash www.creativetim.com. It automatically goes to that website from this link. And as you can see, href navbar brand. And if we view that, you can see that if just to test it to make sure it works, if you click on Rishav's Workshop, it will actually take you to Creative Tim. So yeah, that's how that works. Now let's take a look at this button. So what's actually inside of that button? So if you go below the brand, you'll see a couple of things. You will see something called a division, which is specified by the div tag. And inside of this division, we have something called collapse navbar collapse. And inside of this, we have a couple of things. We have an unordered list, which is what the UL stands for. And basically what an unordered list is let's say that you wanted to write a little bit of HTML code to get a bunch of things for your groceries. But you don't really like prioritize on like what specific thing you want to get first and things like that. So in other words, the order in which you get your groceries doesn't matter. So what we do is we create something called an unordered list. And inside of this unordered list, we have a bunch of items inside of that list, which we specify by something called list item. So the list item is actually every single element inside of your unordered list. And another special thing about this unordered list is we added a class attribute to it where we specified that we want it to be formatted on the right side of the navbar. So as you can see from my navbar in this condensed pixeled version here on my screen, you should be able to see that on the right side you just see a button, right, with 3 bars. So any guesses of what will actually show up when I click on this button? If you guessed right, then you'll know that all of those list elements will show up. So now, let me show you what those list elements are. So if you go here, you'll see that there's a href tag. So remember that href is like a link, but before that we also have something called the A, and I didn't really mention what the A was. So the A is actually how HTML creates text. So this is actually a text with a link, and it also creates a button. So you can see from this class that components, whatever this list element is, the text, is actually when you click on it, it will be like a button. It will behave like a button, and it will link to this particular reference. And yeah, and this target just specifies that it's for that particular button. All right, and then below this list item, we also close the text. So we close it, we say /a, and then we also close the list item here. So now we have another one, and inside so this is line 45. So from line 45 to 49, we have another list item, and inside of this one you can see it says download. And now let's say that I click on this button here, you'll be able to see all those different list items. So you'll be able to understand how it behaves. So if I actually click on this, where do you think it will go? So if I click on components, where should it go? It should go to wherever this H reference goes to. And the same goes for download. And the same goes for this Twitter icon, this Facebook icon, and Instagram icon. All right, so a little thing here. So how does the navbar know that these are the icons for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram? Well, let me explain that for a sec. So inside of this A text here, we have ahref for twitter.com, for the Creative Tim's Twitter, as a button. But there's also another thing that's going on here. We have incorporated something called an I class. And the I class is actually how we specify that we want to incorporate a font. So remember that if we go back up to the website, to where the head tags are, You see where it says fonts and icons? So we mentioned some things here where we had material plus icons, like for the first one. So these are all the icons that come up with the material kit. So if we actually went to this link, we'll be able to see all the different icons that are available to us. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at that? He'll be copy and paste that onto our browser. So let me just go ahead and uncondense this real quick so it's easier to see. Let's go ahead and take a look at those icons. So as you can see, this is the code for the material icons on Google through its API. And it's pretty easy to call because we just did that already in the head tag. But there is some cool things about this where we can actually view what material icons we have. And so to do that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to just type in material icons. And it says Google Design, so you just go ahead and click on this, and it will show you all the ones that are available to us. So all of these things are available. This is pretty cool, right? All I did is it took me to Google and then design.google.com/icons. So you'll be able to see all the icons that are available to us, and yeah, you can definitely incorporate any of these, especially things like the thumbs up and stuff. Like if you want to create something similar to Facebook. And then if you go down here, we have all these things with like play. So like that could be used definitely for like a video feature, or it could also be used for music. And then there's like things like repeat. So like if you want to have like a little Spotify sort of thing. And then of course a video library. So that's sort of YouTube sort of app. And then if you go down here, there's things like email. So if you want to create your own custom email server, or if you want to like show some icons about how you have an app that adjusts to like some sort of orientation, then you can show these icons here. And then yeah, the list just goes on and on. There's a lot of cool stuff here, as you can see. So yeah, let's see if we can find the Facebook, LinkedIn, and all of that, so we can go ahead and see which ones are available to us and change them to whatever we want to display social media wise. Let's see if we can find them. Alright, so we have a little bit of some social stuff here, and then we have toggle. Alright, let's see, where is it? Well, it should be somewhere here. But in case it's not there, what we can do is we can type in iClass and then fontawesome.io examples. So we should be able to see some of those examples here. So like camera, FA camera, things like that. So just as a quick test, if we go to Atom here, and let's go ahead and go back to our navbar, and where it says FA Twitter, why don't we go ahead and change that to LinkedIn? Now why don't we change this Facebook square to WeChat? Now why don't we change this Instagram to Google Plus? Now if you hit on Mac Command and S, and on Windows Control S, then that saves the document. And now if you actually go onto our page that's on the web, you go ahead and press the refresh button and watch what happens. Check that out. We have a LinkedIn icon, we have a WeChat icon, and we also have a Google Plus icon. And now let's say we want to get rid of components and downloads. So it's pretty straightforward to do that. All you have to do is just where it shows from line 40, the list item, you just go ahead and hover your mouse over that all the way to this closing tag on line 49. And then you just go ahead and Command S that or Control S that, and go ahead and refresh, and you should see that it's gone. So pretty straightforward. And of course, That's our brand there. So we're pretty much done with the nav bar. Now, a quick thing to make a note of. So right now, you don't actually see a bar there. You see this transparent thing that just seems to be integrating with the background image. But there's actually an invisible bar there. It's called a transparent bar. But now let's say we actually want the bar to appear. So the way we do that, there are a couple ways to do that actually. So as you can see here in the nav class, we specified that it's called the navbar transparent. So now you might actually ask a few questions. So like, how does this HTML file know that navbar hyphen transparent is actually going to create a navbar that doesn't show the bar, like to create its transparency? So the way it does that is actually through a special CSS file called material.css. So there's actually a way to see that. What we would have to do is we'd have to play with the assets folder and with the CSS and browse somewhere in that CSS document to see where it shows the different nav bars that are available to us. And we'll definitely be doing that in the second part of this module, where we'll be introducing some of the custom CSS that you can include or customize to change and have more freedom towards a website like this, where you're not only limited to the colors that it gives you. So on the docs, I just have this from memory, but there are actually a couple of colors that are already given to us. For example, the name info gives us a light blue, and the name primary gives us a nice purple. So let's say that we want to change this bar to be purple. So all we have to do is just where it says transparent, we get rid of transparent on line 25, and we change that with, let's say if we want to make it purple, we type in primary, because primary is specified to become purple. So just go ahead and Command or Control S that, and then just go ahead and refresh, and you will see a purple bar. There you go. Now you see a purple nav bar, right? It's a very nice dark purple. So yeah, that's the nav bar. So now let's talk about what's going on here. So let's go back to our code real quick. So of course we just finished the nav bar, so that ends on line 59. So now let's talk about stuff from line 61. So as you can see here, we have a div class for a wrapper, and the wrapper is basically all the content that's below the nav bar. But you might be asking, what exactly is it wrapping? So it's wrapping quite a few things. It's wrapping all of the content that's below of this. So as you can see below the nav bar, so you can see that it's wrapping this background, it's wrapping all this text, it's also wrapping this card over here, and all of these things. If we didn't have this wrapper, then what would end up happening is that all these placements of like where this should be, where this card should be, all of that all of a sudden gets messed up. But don't worry too much about that, because we're going to be fixing that right now. So, I mean, don't worry too much about it because it's already fixed for you. But if let's say that you ever encounter this issue as a web developer for a client, and you might think to yourself like, how come none of this is structured properly? All you have to do is remember that you probably forgot to add the wrapper.